What is going on with Boston College hockey, who have stunk out the joint in the month of January? We're going to get into this, recruiting, and a whole lot more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Happy Thursday, everyone. Jeez, my days are all blurring together. On today's show, we're going to jump in and talk hockey, who have been an absolute train wreck over the last month. And I want to talk about what's going on with this team. What is going wrong with the Eagles, who are now sitting in near the bottom of Hockey East. They are currently 8th in the conference, but they're not that far off from the bottom. They're only above UNH, Vermont, and Maine smoked them. So Boston College is not looking very good. And I was looking up some statistics to kind of back some of the points of what I was looking at. And it's definitely disheartening. So right now, Boston College has lost 7 of their last 8 games, going back to the beginning of the month of January. And that 8th game was also a loss, but it was a tie loss, so it doesn't really count as a loss. But for sake of discussion, that's 8 straight losses for BC. In that span, they have played absolute terrible hockey. And what I looked at when I found out what was going on was I looked at some of the statistics, because you can watch the game. I mean, let me kind of take 2 steps back. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So yesterday, I was recording our episode, talking all about, John McNulty. If you want more positive stuff, go back and check out that. And check it out on YouTube, too. But the game was going on, and I went to go record, and BC Hockey was up 3-0 against Harvard. And I was like, this any Jerry York team, when they're up 3-0, they're in good shape. But, back of my mind's nagging, going, AJ, this team has struggled. Keep your wits about you, because something could happen. And oh my gosh, did something happen. So 3-0. And then it was goal after goal after goal after goal. 6 unanswered goals for Harvard. 6. And they win 6-3. I mean, you can't write this stuff. And yes, I know, you don't want to get on Jerry York because he's a legend. And obviously this is, he has his bad years, but call a spade, right? This is a terrible, terrible streak of hockey for BC Hockey right now. I mean, you look at the losses that they have in there. They have losses to Maine, to UConn. They got swept by UNH. They got absolutely decimated by Providence and Notre Dame, good teams. And then they had this happen. Now, you look at the losses, and it's not like they lose 3-2. They're getting crushed in every aspect of the game. Mostly, their goaltending. Their goaltender, if you look at hockey statistics, right, and you look at save percentage, they're dead last in Hockey East, and they're not even close. I think they're about 0.100% or 0.01% next to the next team. They also are dead last in goals allowed. They've let up more than any other team by, I think, 5 goals on the season. Their offense has been okay. Their penalty killing stinks. They're second from the last in Hockey East in that. So these are some concerning numbers. Goaltending, defense, and power play. They have just been abysmal. And I was looking at, I've followed BC Hockey for years. I love this team. And some of my favorite memories from BC sports, either going to the games or watching them, play in like national title matches and stuff, have been because of hockey. I went to I took my dog to their 2012 championship game. I thought that championship parade at BC, that was so much fun. But I had to look back. I was like, Jerry York, he has created such a level of excellence at Boston College. I can't remember the last time BC struggled like they have now. And, I'm looking at back and thinking, okay, so if they continue this, right now they're just above 500. They are just under 500. They're 10-12-4, and they got some big games coming up, the Beanpot, UMass Lowell. I mean, they're looking at a really rough year. And, I mean, every season I've remembered in the last decade to 15 years has been good. And that's a testament to what Jerry York has done. I mean, they've got national championships, Beanpots, Hockey East. They've got everything in there, right? You have to go back 20 years to find a year as bad as what Boston College is doing right now. And they're going to be worse than that. I think you might need to go further back. So when you're looking at their statistics, like York has sustained excellence basically from 2002 and 3 on. And, he had a couple good years before that too, obviously. But in terms of sustained excellence, it's been that long. And you have to look back at the 2001-2002 season to find a season where they were just above 500. Every other season since then, they've been way above 500. And that year, they went 10-13. I mean, they're going to be worse than this. So you have to go basically all the way back to that 94-97 stretch when Jerry York took over to find a team that's playing as badly as Boston College is right now. And as I said, the stars are all heading off. I mean, the stars that have been kind of floating that offense, Jack McBain, Mark McLaughlin, there's a few others that are going to the Olympics. Just in time for this team to really be playing at their worst for the season, that's bad news. This is gonna get rough, man. And this is one of the, I'm not on board yet to say like, Jerry York needs to retire. Good coaches, unless you're Nick Saban in football, they have their off years here and there. And Jerry York, he's entitled to a year of just, not playing well. Just hopefully next year that he can fix whatever's going on, get a good goaltender in here because the goaltending is not very good, and get some good defense because the defense has also been struggling. So, this has just been tough, and it's, when hockey's good, fans want to talk about it. When hockey's bad, no one really wants to talk about it. But, I feel like it's worth it to talk about like, this team is really poor. But on the other side, it's important also to mention that the women's hockey team is playing excellent right now, and they just beat the number 3 team, Northeastern, in the Beanpot. Lexi Gay had 2 goals. Abigail Levy had 49 saves. So congratulations to them. They get to play Harvard in the Beanpot finals I think it's next week. They have 2 games between that, but congratulations to the women. We always like to see them doing well. Now, in a moment, I'm going to chat a little bit about recruiting, talk a little bit about where BC is at as the later signing period has just passed. Now, BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and bets than ever before, as it continues its march through the playoffs right to the big game in a couple weeks. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live, real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. Head on over to BetOnline, where the game starts. This is AJ Black. Thank you all for listening. And for all of you that have made Locked On Boston College your first listen every morning, I want to thank each and every one of you. We do this 5 days a week. This is a daily Boston College podcast. The only one out there that does this. There's other good podcasts out there, but we do this every day to give you all the news and opinion that you need. And for some of you that love to get your BC news every morning and to hear interviews and hear my analysis, thank you. And for those of you that really like us and have, season ticket holders that, tailgate with you, recommend our podcast to them. Say, hey, I love getting a good 20 minutes of AJ Black every morning talking about BC sports. So thank you all who have listened. And if this is your first listen, I want to welcome you too, because I think this is great that you've given me a chance to talk to you about BC sports. So on Wednesday, it was the late National Signing Day, or as I like to call it for Boston College sports, the Great Nothing Burger Day, because nothing ever happens on National Signing Day at the late period. You always get one signing or so, and that's exactly what happened this year. Now, on Tuesday, I had reported that Isaiah Ferris, a defensive back from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, had committed to Boston College. He had visited the Eagles over the weekend, and blizzard be damned, he still committed to the Eagles. And so he was the lone last signing for Boston College. He's a kid that had offers from Syracuse, Marshall, Colorado, and FIU. He's 6'0", they say 170 now. I mean, his 247 sports profile had him at 155, which is scary, but I think he's put on a little bit of weight. But he kind of fills that spot, either that Sean Asbury, Brandon Sebastian, or Jamal Hood, who was supposed to come in. Jamal Hood was a recruit that was committed to Boston College. He ended up not coming. Sebastian, he's a 4-year starter. He ended up in the draft. Sean Asbury transferred to Old Dominion. So they needed a little bit of depth, and they got that with Isaiah Ferris. Now, there were some other names going around over the last couple of weeks. The big one that people kept asking about, and I feel like it's important to talk about with you, is R.J. Maryland. R.J. Maryland is a wide receiver tight end from Texas. He's the son of Miami legend Russell Maryland, and he was committed to Boston College up until pretty much the day of early signing period. And then the two parties kind of split ways, and he just, I had heard, that it wasn't closed yet, but, I got the sense it wasn't going to happen. Maryland did not sign with Boston College. He ended up with SMU. It sounds like he wanted to stay closer to home. He gets to play in front of his fans and family and friends. That's a good thing. It sounded like I saw his signing announcement, and it was between SMU and Miami, his dad's alma mater, and he said he wanted to blaze his own path. So good luck to him. I could never fault a kid for not choosing a school. Like, it's their decision. Like, if he's going to be miserable, being from Texas, going to New England or Miami, then why would he do that? So good luck to him. You always wish him the best. The other name that was out there was Jalen Davis Robinson, who I know had visited Boston College. He's a track star from Waxahachie, I believe it is, Texas. I apologize if I get the name wrong. He's a track kid. He came down to a Final Four of Oregon, Wyoming, Boston College, and LSU, with basically a final two of LSU and Oregon, and he chose the Tigers. And so that was that. I didn't think he was going to end up here. Once I saw Oregon and LSU were sniffing around, and LSU is obviously a big-time program, and with Brian Kelly there dancing like an idiot during his videos, you definitely want to go there. But people ask me, and just to give you some clarification, why does some people have been wondering, why is Boston College not involved in the late signing period? So there's schools that go and kind of wrap everything up early. I mean, even schools like Wisconsin are schools that want to get things done by that early signing period. And clearly a school like Boston College is like that. Honestly, Syracuse is not. Louisville is not. They were still trying to grab their guys later on. But I think what Boston College is going for is they're trying to connect with these kids. And Hafley wants to bring in guys that are, true to their roots, that want to be at Boston College. If they're kind of hemming and hawing and they're going to wait and they're going to do this, they're not going to come, or they're deciding and they're not sure, then they're probably not a Boston College person, right? And for that case, they probably just move on. They go to the next guy, the guy that's hungry to be at BC, the guy that is hungry to play for Jeff Hafley. And then they wrap up that 20 kids. And then what they do for what I kind of got the sense with what they were offering for the later period are those kind of flyers, right? Boston College, Hafley has said, and I keep saying this because some people just do not listen, but Boston College is not living in the transfer portal. We gotta make that the number one motto of BC's developmental philosophy. They're gonna get a few guys here and there, but they want to be able to get these kids, and so I think BC is happy to look and find an Isaiah Ferris, maybe someone who's under-recruited, who didn't get a chance to get a scholarship somewhere. That's these kids that Boston College are going to go after in this late period. And I think it's a great opportunity for BC to find a kid that maybe, didn't have a lot of, interest. Look at Jaden Williams. Jaden Williams signed really, really late. And I think he wasn't a late signee, but he signed a week before National Signing Day. So you get those types of players that kind of slip through, and Boston College has the space to take them. I think it's a great thing for them. Now, the other schools out there, you see the LSU's, Texas A&M's, and Florida's and Alabama's that go nuts with 5-star recruits, and this is where the big boys play, and Boston College will never. I mean, you hate to hear it, but they're not going to be battling those schools for those players ever. And right now with NIL and the way that there's probably bags of money, I mean, you heard what Jimbo Fisher said. I mean, he was very adamant that there was not $35 million going to these recruits. But hey, I don't know. They have like 7 or 8 5-star recruits. You start to wonder, right? But anyways, those are players that Boston College most likely will never be against. I still kind of, just as a college football fan, I enjoy watching some of that. I found endless entertainment that I mentioned just a second ago, that Brian Kelly made that ridiculous video. If you have not seen it, it's everywhere, where he's like doing that like 360 dance thing to like some rap song, but he looks like an old grandpa doing it with a younger kid. It looks ridiculous. The kid does all that with Brian Kelly. The video is viewed, I just saw 8 million times, and the kid signed with Alabama today. I thought that was just kind of just funny. But I love hearing all these stories and kind of watching along. But now it's on to 2023, and on bcbulletin.com, we're going to have all the news. I've been interviewing kids. If you've been on there, if you're a premium member, you've been seeing a lot of the updates I've been giving. I got a few more interviews in the chamber coming up. Make sure you join. It's only a cup of coffee for that first month. It's only $1. It's only $1 that first month, and then a cup of coffee after that. And you get access to that. You get access to our premium boards and our Discord channel. It's easy. It's a little money. It helps support the site, and you get a ton out of it. So I hope you enjoy it. In our last segment, I'm going to go over some news items from around Boston College, and we'll get into everything else you're going to want to need to know. All right, Eagles fans, this is AJ Black with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about, GetUpside. My listeners are earning cash back for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free GetUpside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and use promo code SCORE for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first fill up. That's cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using GetUpside. Just download the app for free and use promo code SCORE. There's no downside to doing this. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a year in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime you want to, right to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free GetUpside app and use promo code SCORE to get 25 cents per gallon or more on your cash back on your first tank. That's code SCORE. This is AJ Black. I'm editor and publisher of bcbulletin.com. Make sure to check out my work there. Early next week, we're going to have Mitch Wolf back on. He is at the Senior Bowl right now. Me and him have been texting quite a bit because I have to stay home and isolated because of all that good stuff. But I've been chatting a lot with him, and he's been talking a lot about Zion Johnson and the performance he's had. And I think it's something worth watching because just from the scouting reports I'm getting, Johnson's killing it at the Senior Bowl. It sounds like he has already started to move himself up to becoming one of the top guard, like either number 1 or number 2 guard in the entire draft. And folks, there's a good chance Zion Johnson could be going in the first round of the draft. What I've loved, and Mitch can talk more about this, he's tried everything. He's been up and down the line. I've seen him at tackle, which I've heard he didn't have as much success, which if you watched Boston College last year, totally understand that, right? But at guard, absolutely killing it. Probably you see the videos, and I've retweeted a whole bunch under BC Bulletin's Twitter account. Make sure you follow that as well. And you can see just how he's going against other really top tier defensive lineman, and he's holding his own and doing a really nice job there. But it's also his work ethic. Over the last 2 days, on Wednesday and on Tuesday, after practice, he's the last guy out there. He's doing, at center, he did some work at center. I guess he didn't have some of the greatest drills, and he was out there continuing to practice after. Coaches notice that stuff. I'm a Pats fan. I'll admit that all the time. And I said it earlier when we talked about Brady a couple days ago. But, Belichick, that's the kind of stuff that endears players to coaches. So I think Zion Johnson, this Senior Bowl has really cemented him as one of the top recruits. And this could be a really fun NFL draft season. Especially, we'll have to wait to see how he does at the combine. But we've seen how nimble he can be. I would be shocked if Johnson doesn't kill the combine numbers. I think he's going to do great. Little coaching news as well. I always like to go back, and I know some of you guys don't want to talk about Dazio, and I'm not talking about Dazio here. I'm going to talk about one of his coaches, Brian White, who was a running back coach with BC under Steve Adazio during some of the A.J. Dillon years. He ended up going with Adazio to Colorado State and lost his job when Adazio was fired this year. He already found a new job. He's going to Bowling Green, and some of you might go, "Ooh, I know that connection." Well, there is a connection there because Scott Loeffler, who was Steve Adazio's offensive coordinator, is the head coach over at Bowling Green. As Mitch and I have joked about on the podcast, Loeffler owns one of the only records, I think, of getting thrown out of a game. I think Steve Adazio and Loeffler over the last year were two coaches that got thrown out. So he's going to join up with Brian White. Brian White has a new position in the MAC conference. And we've talked about recruiting on this show a lot. And one of the names to watch for 2023 recruit is Ronan Hannafin. He's a wide receiver, could play linebacker. Depends on how Boston College wants to use him. He's a 3 to 4 star recruit, depending on what service you use. Obviously, a big name Boston College you want to get. He goes to he's out of Cambridge. I think he goes to Brown and Nichols School. Well, his brother is a 2022 recruit. Boston College just offered him as a walk-on, preferred walk-on. He's a quarterback, class of 2022. He's got a walk-on offer from Merrimack and BC. I don't always say that sometimes coaches are trying to make moves to kind of make things a little bit more comfortable for recruits that they want, but you read between the lines and you can tell me what you think. But I just thought that was an interesting offer out there, especially that Hannafin seems to be going crazy about Notre Dame on social media. So I think BC might want to try to push to make sure he stays in the state. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, obviously, if he wants to go to Notre Dame, there's nothing you can do to stop him. But I'm sure BC will try to do whatever they can. So on tomorrow's show, we will preview the weekend in sports. We'll get into anything that's breaking news related and get into everything else Boston College related that you want to talk about. Now, I asked yesterday, and I saw 4 of you do this already. And, everyone counts. Before you go today, I want you to go to YouTube, find Locked On Boston College, and hit subscribe. And if you find a video, just hit the like button. It helps. I'm telling you, it gets other people to find our podcast more easily, and it helps this podcast reach to more people. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you're in the car right now, please don't go onto YouTube and find that. I don't want to hear about you getting pulled over for this. But when you get to your destination, pull out your phone, go to YouTube. You all have subscriptions, I'm sure, accounts on YouTube, because if you have Gmail, it automatically signs you up. Just hit that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds. It doesn't cost you a single thing, and it helps this podcast out. And you could be that person to help this podcast grow even more. Thank you all for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. You can follow Locked On BC as well. And make sure to check out our website, bcbulletin.com, and our forum, Maroon and Gold Forums. We have a ton of fans on there talking right now. The football site page is bumping with talks. Talking about Brian Flores, and I didn't get into that today. We can talk about that tomorrow. There's all sorts of discussion on there. Tomorrow's show is our mailbag. I already got one question in the hopper, but if you have a question, hit me up on Twitter, email me, whatever. You can find me anywhere. Just find me, ask me that question, and we'll get it onto the podcast. Thank you all, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.